His name is Austin. He's American, but don't hold that against him. My name is Rich. I'm English, and to be honest, we're not much better. This is Too Good to Be True Crime.
There's two rival real estate developers. One of them hired a contract killer to kill the other. But what he doesn't know is that the hitman has outsourced the job to another hitman. It just so happened that hitman number 3 hires the job out to another hitman.
This is unbelievable. This can't be true. Austin, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Rich, what's going on, man? It's always great to see you.
Mate, it's good to see you too. You're over there in Manhattan, New York, as always. And how is it in Manhattan? What's going on?
It's a nice fall day today, and there's not too much going on. It was a little bit wet this last week. Hate that. But I did some backup singing for an awesome performer named Remember Jones. And
shout out to Remember Jones.
Shout out to Remember Jones. I had an amazing time. Thankfully, there was nothing podcast related to report in terms of any crime. So nothing too good to be true crime that I can relay to you there. But I sang backup for Remember Jones. He's an incredible artist, and he performed at the Count Basie. We performed at the Count Basie. Remember Jones reimagines artists, legendary artists, and he did a reimagining of the music of Queen. So I sang backup for him doing Queen, and we performed. The whole show was about 2 hours, maybe 2.5, and I got to perform with some other backup singers for the last 30 minutes of the show. So there was Queen, there was a horn section, there was a strings section, there were bikes on stage, there were costumes, there were lights.
Obviously, aside from being a podcast extraordinaire, your day job, you are a singer, aren't you? You're a gigging singer in New York. That's what you do for a living.
I'm a singer, I'm an actor, I'm a musician, I play a lot of piano, and I teach some lessons.
A student of music, mate. So is it cold there, mate? It's so cold here. It suddenly dropped. Like I picked my other half up from the airport, Gemma, last night. She's been away for a while, for a few days, five days, I think. We'll talk about that in a minute. Mate, when I picked her up from the airport last night, it was like midnight, half midnight. My car was reading zero. Like zero.
Oof.
And last week it was like, mate, it was in the 70s last week, and now it's dropped. But apparently we're going to have another little heat wave, apparently, before October is out, which I love. I love the warm weather, mate. It's amazing. I miss it. I'm not looking forward to... you like the holidays, don't you? Holiday season.
I think I do, yeah.
I don't... There's something about the run-up to Christmas. I mean, you guys have... Thanksgiving, don't you? So that's like a holiday season, and then as soon as Thanksgiving's done, you're on the countdown to Christmas, aren't you?
Yes.
Because we have Halloween, of course Halloween as well, but that's massive over there, isn't it? It's quite big here now. But no, it wasn't always that big when I was growing up, and I was kind of just like, we have the 5th of November, which is Bonfire Night, which is the story of Guy Fawkes, which you probably don't know much about Guy Fawkes, do you?
I don't know much. That's the mask that's in the movie. What's that film with Natalie Portman?
Oh, I don't know what that film is.
He wears a Guy Fawkes mask. V for Vendetta.
Oh, right, yeah, because Guy Fawkes, it was a plot to blow up the House of Parliament, which was foiled, and so there's fireworks and bonfires and all kinds of stuff now. But then you got that lead up to Christmas. I have to be honest, I'm probably in the minority by saying this. I find the Christmas season just a little bit depressing. I really do.
It's a season that is accompanied by very complicated feelings, isn't it?
It is, because I'm not a fan of like enforced happiness. You have to be happy. Oh, it's the season of joy. Come on, you have to be happy. You have to enjoy it. And then we get to New Year, and it's like, oh, the song Auld Lang Syne. I find it a bit sad, because all it does is remind me that I'm a year closer to death.
Oh, no.
In all seriousness, but anyway, we're not quite there yet. Yeah, so I picked up Jem from the airport yesterday. So she was in Lisbon, in Portugal, with her friend it was her 40th, not Gemma's, it was her friend's 40th birthday celebrations, and she was really looking forward to it because she's not had a European holiday this year. And I've been to Portugal, I worked there before. And I said, you're going to love Lisbon. It's amazing. It's beautiful. There's culture. It's like one of those beautiful kind of European cities, cobbled streets. It's beautiful architecture. You know what the first thing she saw was when she got there?
Uh-oh.
A man pulled down his pants and took a dump in the street.
Stop. And she didn't just see the dump.
Mate, she saw everything.
Oh,
I've seen everything. He literally pulled down his pants and took a dump in the street. That was the culture that she saw in Lisbon.
Oh, that can be traumatic. Oh, no. That's really shitty.
She had a great time though, but there's a museum there in a hotel, and I think Lisbon in particular it's almost like the epicenter of Portugal for like hookers and stuff, ladies of the night, and they've got a celebratory museum there, much like Amsterdam, I'd imagine. I suppose it's because there's a cruise port there, isn't there? So over the decades, as sailors and stuff have been coming in this museum, mate, they've got like a jar of pubes. Like it's like a jar of pubic hair and stuff, like from the celebrated hookers from days gone by. Also, they have jars of like semen that like's just been congealed and kept like that. Yeah, that's the exhibits, mate. It's
not
quite
congealed,
amazing, mate. But she had a good time. She's some great stories coming back. Like there's a lot of people that flew in from all over the world. There's some people that flew over from your neck of the woods. From America, but they live in Arizona, and they were saying to Jen, you've got to come over, you've got to bring Rich, you've got to come and hang out. She's like, oh, that'd be amazing, I'd love to come to Arizona. When should I come? And they said, just don't come in July and August because it's tarantula season. I was like, what the hell? Tarantula season? Yeah, we have to get the exterminators that come in, and they're like searching for the... I'm like, I will never go to Arizona purely because the fact that there are tarantulas there, whether it's tarantula season or not.
Well, I thought you were going to say, I thought she was going to say don't come in those months because you could literally fry an egg on your driveway.
Well, probably that as well. Maybe that's why it's tarantula season, because they're all looking for some shade. Mate, I hate spiders at the best of times, but tarantula season, that sounds to me absolutely horrendous. But those same people said they were taking the bins out one night, they looked to the left and there's a warthog just standing looking at them. So she's putting the bins away, and this warthog just charges her and like attacks her. She was attacked by a warthog, and I'm thinking, you're living in the desert where it's brutally hot, you have tarantula season, and there's a possibility of getting eaten by a coyote or getting attacked by a warthog. It sounds like a place that I don't want to visit, mate, to be honest.
An absolute wasteland.
Great stories.
Well, we've had this conversation not on the pod, but we've had the conversation before about what would you rather find crawling in your house, say across your family room or living room or maybe in the kitchen. I would rather have a cockroach in my house than a mouse. But you said that you would rather have a mouse than a cockroach.
Yeah, well, mice over here, I guess we're kind of quite used to mice, and I guess in New York where you live, you're pretty used to roaches and rats, right? So I guess it's what you've been like, I'd say, been brought up with. I've not been brought up with mice, but if we're in the underground in London, I was brought
up with a couple of cockroaches. Shout out to my siblings.
You're standing on the platform on the underground, and you're always seeing like little mice, but I think they're quite cute. I mean, they are vermin. I wouldn't want to pick one up. But to be honest, if I'm sitting in my apartment in Manhattan and a roach came, running across the floor, it wouldn't be something that I would enjoy, to be honest. And the rats are, in New York, they're massive. And did you know this about rats? And I don't know if this is like just rumour, but once I was told by someone that rats, that you're like the point in your body where you are kind of most at risk is your neck. So they know that is a point that they should attack should they feel that they're coming under fire by you. So if you see a bunch of rats and they're feeling like that you're going to be under, you're going to be like wanting to attack them, they will run up you and they will try and attack your jugular vein. That's how much they know about the human. No, mate, God, no. But I think evolution has failed. People go, oh, you need cockroaches because of this, or you need tarantulas because of that. Why do we need any of it? Why didn't evolution decide that we don't need these things? Let's cut that out the food chain and just have things that be nice to each other. I don't know. Mate,
I can't think of a good reason.
Yeah. No, I can't either. But mate, here we are. What are we? We're episode 9. This is our first video content podcast. We're going to be streaming this on YouTube. Among the other platforms you can find us on, YouTube is where you can see us. We're going on tour, a tour of Japan.
And we'll also be doing our best to bring you some true crime stories that are hilarious, that are just too good to be true. We'll be in Japan. We're going to try and bring you some stories that are from Japan.
It's quite an important day for us because this is our first video content podcast, isn't it? I can see you, and we've got our little signs up. We're going to be streaming this on YouTube. Among the other platforms you can find us on, YouTube is where you can see us. You can also find us obviously on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on TikTok. If you're bored, if your thumbs don't know what they want to press, just hover it over that little like button. Just hover it over that 5-star review. Help a couple of dudes out. We're growing our audience on this podcast. Any help that the listeners can give us, we very much appreciate it, don't we?
Yeah, and our other channels, our Instagram, our TikTok, our YouTube, if you check them out, we have a little bit different content on there, so you're not only going to get the same thing that you get here from our pod. We've got really funny, really funny. We've got some tidbits, okay? I happen to think they're pretty funny, but I'll let you decide for yourself.
We got some little shorts, haven't we?
Yes.
What we got, they're true quotes from the courtroom, ably acted out by myself and Austin.
Yep, that's right. That's what our life's work has culminated to this moment of acting out the floating heads on TikTok.
And I never knew anything about TikTok, but I'm being drawn in and drawn in and drawn in. And so I feel myself being part of the TikTok generation, which do I loathe myself a little bit for that? Probably, but mate, it's necessary. It's the world we live in, isn't it?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? And I'll add that my expertise in TikTok goes like about an hour earlier than when you downloaded TikTok. But hey, we're doing our best. So
you think that way though. Your brain works to work the problems out, whereas I look at it and it's just a mess to me. It doesn't make sense. So I'm just.
It's our upbringing. I was raised with cockroaches, and you were raised with mice. You know, we come from different backgrounds.
Well, to be fair to say, I am obviously a little bit older than you. I'm not your father. Should we just put that out there? I'm not Austin's father.
It's true.
No. But I am a little bit older.
You're not my sugar daddy either.
Not yet, but if we get some more money coming in from the pod, mate, who knows? You could be calling me up. I could say, hey, why don't you just send me a couple of pictures of your feet and maybe I'll send you some money via Venmo, mate. But
too good to be foot picked.
Too good to be foot pics, mate. That's a whole other podcast. Should we, let's tell the listeners, so a little bit of exciting news from us because, we've just discussed that you are a singer and an actor. I am too. We're also in a band. Our band is called Unity, and we've got a bit of news, haven't we? Because we're going on tour.
Unity going on tour. Richard and Austin and our two other wonderful buddies who hopefully you'll hear from as guests on the pod.
We do. We want to get them on the podcast, don't we, when we're going on a tour of Japan. We're going on our travels. We're going to be performing some songs in different areas of Japan. We're going to be boarding the MSC Bellissima cruise ship, and we're very much looking forward to it, getting back together all in the same room. And like we said, hopefully on a forthcoming pod, we'll have Garrett and Brian. Shout out to Garrett and Brian, our bandmates, and we might do a little pod where you might be able to hear and possibly even see them if we record some video whilst we're doing that, hey?
And we'll also be doing our best to bring you some true crime stories that are hilarious, that are just too good to be true. And they'll be relevant to what we're doing. So we'll be in Japan. We're going to try and bring you some stories of too good to be true crimes that are Japanese, that are from Japan. And we'll also be on a ship just a little bit. So you may even hear a little bit about cruise crime.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, back to today's episode. Austin, it's your story, mate. What have you got for me today?
Too fucking good to be true crime. Our too good to be true crime from today starts in 2012. There's two rival real estate developers. One's name is Tan and one's name is Wei. All right,
Got it.
They're rival real estate developers. They end up taking each other to court. And in order to deal with not having to go to court and possibly lose a fuck ton of money, one of them hired a contract killer to kill the other. Tan has hired a contract killer to take out his competitor named Wei.
So they were businessmen together and now they're competitors. Got it.
That's it, yeah. They had gone on in investments together and stuff, but at some point things turned sour. And so, they end up on the precipice of a court battle, and every businessman wants to keep his money. So instead of having to deal with court, he just goes and hires a contract killer to take out Wei.
That's extreme.
He wants to take Wei out. He's just gonna wipe him out of the competition. So
Poor Wei.
So Tom gives a white cell phone to the hitman that he hired, okay? And the white cell phone contained his phone number, but it also contained the phone number of the victim, Wei. So Wei's phone number, Wei's ID, his license plate, like a bunch of info is in this white cell phone. And so the hitman is supposed to take a photo of the dead body after he takes out Wei, and then send that photo to Tan. Easy enough job. If you're a hitman, it should be pretty easy. He was offered 2 million yuan. He's waiting to hear back from the hitman. Hopefully he's going to get maybe a selfie of his competitor's dead body. But what he doesn't know is that the hitman has outsourced the job to another hitman.
Because he's busy. He's got a lot of killing to do. I can't do this one. I'm going to hand it off.
He's subcontracting. Have you ever had somebody else do your homework for you? Pay him $20 to do your homework. It's kind of like that. We've all been there.
Yes. Subletting your spare room.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So he's just gonna subcontract it to a second hitman. Now we have 2 hitmen. So if you were offered 2 million yuan, and then you subcontracted it out to another hitman, how much would you offer to pay the hitman to do the job?
You're still going to want to keep some money for yourself, aren't you? So I'm presuming he's going to give him half?
That's exactly what he offered him.
Right. Makes sense.
I'm an actor. I'm a musician. Us musicians, we count to 4 over and over again, sometimes 8.
That is Manhattan at its finest, those sirens I can hear outside your office there.
So I'm not good with math, but we're going to try our best to get this math here. So we've gone from 2 million to 1 million. So now we have two hitmen. We've just cut it in half. Easy. But it's not going to be that easy because hitman number 2 hired the job out to hitman number 3.
So he's subletted, and that subletter has then subletted once again.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
I mean, clearly business is good for these hitmen because they're obviously so busy they can't afford to get all the jobs done.
So how much should hitman number 2? Theoretically, he knows he's hitman number 2, right? How much should hitman number 2 keep? How much should he give to hitman number 3?
So, hold on. So, hitman number 1 was the person that was, employed to do this job. Hitman number 2 is the first subletter, and hitman number 3 is third in the chain. So, I'm presuming, well, if hitman number 2 was being offered $1 million, hitman number 3, I don't know, 500 grand?
He's actually offered more than what you would have given him, Rich.
Oh, is it?
Hitman number 3 gets 270,000 beforehand,
right, okay,
and then 500,000 after. So that's 770,000.
Right. Okay.
All right. So hitman number 3 is supposed to take care of the job. He knows who to text. He's just going to text the person who hired him out.
Right.
And he'll just send him the photo of the dead body when the deed is done. Yeah. And of course, we know that hitman number 3 is going to be texting the photo to hitman number 2, who is going to be texting the photo to hitman number 1, who then has to send it to the businessman who has hired them out.
I mean, to simplify it, they should just have a WhatsApp group. Then everyone gets a photo at the same time, right?
It's true.
Okay.
All right. So Tan is waiting for, to receive a message that his competitor Wei has been taken out. The wait will go on a little bit longer because it just so happened that hitman number 3 hires the job out to another hitman number 4.
Oh, come on. So that's ridiculous. Do we know the reasons why these guys are subletting this contract to the next person down the list? We don't know why. Do you think they got cold feet? They were nervous, or they were just like, actually, my schedule is full. I've got a lot of killing to do. I can't fit this one in. Is that what's happening?
I suppose. I guess it also sounds like a pretty solid business idea to just sort of organize contract killers instead of actually ever have to do it yourself. So maybe they're all just seeing it as a business opportunity,
Yeah, they don't have to get their hands dirty.
Yeah. It doesn't really matter who did it. Hey, as long as it gets done, we all might make a little money from it.
Yeah, the logic makes sense, but it gets confusing about who's doing what.
All right, and so Hitman 4 logically hires the job out to a 5th hitman.
Oh my god! So there's now 5. There's 5 on the go, and obviously Hitman number 5 is probably earning $10 or something. His job.
Hitman number 5 was supposed to be earning 100,000 yuan.
Right. Okay. So we went
from 2 million to 100,000.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So we've really watered down the earnings here. Okay, so the job is given to hitman number 5. Now, we'll try and translate this here into today's US currency. Okay, so this ends up being about for the 5th hitman, the lowest amount of money that anyone's getting paid to do this. 100,000 yuan turns into $14,000.
it's not a lot of money to exterminate someone, is it? To be fair. Especially, I'm presuming in China, I don't know a lot about China, but I'm presuming the penalties are pretty severe out there.
Yeah.
I mean, they still have the death penalty for something like this? I'm not sure.
Know.
But a contract killing and you're only going to make 14 grand. Mate, that's not even half a year's wage for a lot of people, is it?
Yeah. For sure. And so you're looking at the very first hitman. His offer was probably somewhere under $200,000. No experience in the hitman, in the hitman industry, but it doesn't feel like a lot of money to be doing something so atrocious.
You need to do a bit of research on that, mate. You need to get yourself in the inner circle.
All right.
See what these kind of contracts are worth.
You might second guess the intelligence of these hitmen, especially hitman number 5, who's taken on this job for such a low amount of money. But his actions really surprised me, and they may surprise you too. Okay. Hitman number 5 decides to contact Wei. The person whose head had a bounty put out on them gets contacted by hitman number 5. He says, "I've been hired to kill you, and for a certain fee, I will not kill you, and I'll help you make this go away." And the original, then they can find out who hired them and this and that. So which way will Wei go?
Well, I mean, Wei at this point, I'm presuming, could be in fear of his life. I don't know whether he would. He obviously knows, his ex-business partner pretty well, so I imagine he would be able to presume whether this guy is capable of this. You'd be annoyed, wouldn't you, to say the least? I mean, you'd be marginally frustrated that someone's taken out a contract on your life.
That's right.
So I would say, because the question I was going to ask initially is are their business dealings legitimate? Because they were in business together for real estate. How legitimate that real estate business was, we don't know.
Yeah, so, I believe that the legitimacy was being disputed in court, and that's why the hit was taken out against Wei.
Right, so it's possible that their business dealings were questionable from the beginning. So it could be that they're not altogether genuine and authentic gentlemen, should we say. So I'm going to say, I think that he said, I'll take that, and I'll pay you the $1 million, and you make this problem go away for me. That's what I'm going to guess at that.
They meet in a coffee shop, and they devise their plan. And their plan is that they're going to take photos and stage the death of Wei.
Put a bit of fake blood on him, bit of tomato ketchup. Yeah, say, he's gone.
Straight up. So they go back to his apartment. They take the photo, and in the photo, he's like tied up, he's bound and gagged, and they send the photo.
That would have been a fun hour setting that up, wouldn't it?
Hitman number 5 sends it to number 4, sends it to number 3, sends it to number 2, sends it to number 1. And by the time it gets back to Tan, the person who hired the killer, Tan was already arrested by the police because Wei had gone down to the police station.
Really? Already?
Yep.
So even though he staged his own death, he'd already then gone to the police.
The way that I read the story was that this might have taken a matter of days or a couple of hours or something for it to make it up the chain of the hitman's cell phone WhatsApp message, the group chat.
Also, how foolish are these hitmen? Because every time that they're passing on a picture, they're leaving like a huge paper trail behind them. Because I know that sometimes WhatsApp, because it's encrypted, isn't it? So sometimes WhatsApp won't release the information because they say it's a violation of privacy, etc., etc. And if they do that for this particular crime, that means that they'll have to do it for everyone that requests it. So I don't know. WhatsApp might not have even needed to be involved in this because obviously he'd already gone to the police.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So all 6 men are arrested. Tan, the person who took out the hit, and the 5 hitmen, they're all arrested. At first, they're acquitted due to a lack of evidence.
Right.
But prosecutors were able to appeal against that decision. So by 2019, they're finally sentenced. Their second trial lasted 3 years.
3 years?
It's kind of strange. It seems pretty blatant to me. I'm not sure why it would take 3 years, but it took 3 years.
I don't know much about the Chinese judicial system, so I don't know how long things take over there. But I would also guess that why Hitman number 5 technically he's received the information that they want him to, they're going to pay him to take this guy out, but he technically hasn't done anything wrong. He's just gone to that guy and said, listen, I'm supposed to, I've got a contract on your head, but I'm not going to do that. But I guess technically he's actually could be done for blackmail as well, because he said, but pay me this and I won't do it. So I don't know. Yeah.
So, Rich, I would like to ask you, out of these 6 people who get arrested, who do you think gets sentenced to prison? And maybe we can have you guess how long. We have 6 individuals, one person who hired out the hitmen, and we have 5 hitmen. Who should go to prison and for how long?
So Tan, in my opinion, should get the stiffest sentence. He should go to prison because he was the one that initiated it and said, right, I want this guy taken out. He's applied for murder, hasn't he there? So, and he's paid this guy, or at least half up front, for this hitman to take out Wei. So I would say that I think Tan would go down for a long time. He's got to get, well, again, it's China, and I don't know, I would imagine their sentences are pretty stiff. So I reckon Tan went to prison, and I'd say he got 25 years. That's what I'm going to guess at.
Okay. How about our 5 hitmen? Do they all get the same charge? Do they...
Is there a world in which just being a hitman regardless carries some kind of, custodial sentence? Because if you're a hitman for hire, technically that's not a legitimate enterprise,
right,
is it?
Or it could be proved as like conspiring to,
Yes. Yeah, that's true. So I would probably say, as we get further down the list of 5 hitmen, maybe the sentences get less and less and less.
Why?
Well, I think starting with number 5, for example, he received the contract, but then he went to Wei and said, I've been asked to do this, and I've been asked to be, to take your life, and I will be paid to do that. I'm not going to do that if you pay me not to do that. So that means that I think his sentence should be for blackmail. And I reckon probably blackmail should carry a sentence, if it involves taking someone's life, I reckon 8 to 10 years for that. So I reckon he would get 8 to 10 years. I think the first hitman would get he'd get a long sentence, because it was the first man that was contacted and he's handed that down. So I think hitman number 5, blackmail, 10 years. And I'd say hitman number 1, I would say conspiracy to murder, advertising yourself as a hitman. He's got to go down for 25 years to life, I'd say. And then hitman 2, 3, and 4, they've received the order, they've passed the order on. I'd say 20 years for each of them. So hitman 1, 25 to life. Hitman 2, 3, 4, 20 years. Hitman 5, blackmail, 10 years. How close am I? Go from the top down. Start with Tan.
Tan gets 5 years.
Is that it? 5 years to pay someone to murder someone else? That's low. And I'm surprised. That really surprises me as well. And in China, you get only 5 years for that. Wow,
in this
that's
case,
really surprising.
Yeah, I know. It's freaking wild.
Yeah.
All right. So then the first hitman, number 2, 3, and 4, all got 3 years.
This is unbelievable. This can't be true, because you would think that they're planning and plotting to kill someone. They're also idiots. They're passing it down through WhatsApp messages or messenger services or whatever. They're plotting to kill someone. They're saying, I'll pay you this to kill someone. Yeah, so that makes me think as well, should this have proceeded and it actually happened and they got caught, they might not have even received that stiff a sentence, to be honest.
Hitman number 5, his name was Ling. His first name is Ling. He got 2 years and 7 months.
For conspiracy to murder or for blackmail?
I believe it was for conspiracy to murder.
Wow. So he was charged with that, even though he didn't actually go through with it, and he tried to essentially extort Wei out of money to not kill him.
That's right.
They're really, really low charges.
I know. Those guys are quite lucky, aren't they?
Yeah, I was 20. I mean, they might be. What year was it? 2014. So they're probably out by now.
From what I saw, I believe that they were convicted in 2019. So, most of them would be out by now, because they had one round of court. They had one trial, and then they were acquitted for lack of evidence, or they had tried to appeal for lack of evidence, and then they had another trial.
So essentially, it took. I mean, the court case took longer than their sentences.
Yep.
Wow. And now they're basically back on the streets of China advertising for business, taking an advert out in the local rag, rebranded, reopened for business.
Well, for those that are watching, we'll have their photos. There's a great photo of all of them in court, so you'll already have seen their photos by now if you're watching along with us. And you know, they don't get to be anonymous. I'm sure plenty of people know who they are, and I'm sure plenty of people are getting just as much of a kick out of this story as we are.
Well, it's like you said. Also, now they've been exposed as being hitmen. I presume it's the kind of business that you kind of need to keep your anonymity a little bit, don't you? As soon as someone knows who you are, that's it. You're seeing them walking down the street, you're thinking, I'm getting the hell out of here because I know what's about to happen.
Yeah, I think they're going to be pretty limited on their employment options for the future.
It makes me think to myself, though, if they're handing down the contract, how many, if they've ever actually killed anyone?
I know.
Because all they do is just get the information off the dark web and go, I know. It's like, it's like running a business and having your office staff going, yeah, I'm not going to do that one. I'll just palm that off to someone else and hopefully they can take care of it.
That's right. Yep.
That really is a too good to be true crime, isn't
I know.
it?
Yeah. And it's only from a couple years ago, so we got plenty of reporting on that. I mostly just found my stuff from BBC and CNN reports. There's also like a ton of other awesome podcasters and YouTubers that have like made little shorts about this or animated cartoons. So it's a pretty funny story, but I had to share it with you, man.
Mate, it's like they sound like a bunch of morons.
Yeah,
to be honest.
I know.
So, like, hapless criminals, to be fair, that only ended up doing 2 and 3 years. That's mad.
Yeah.
But I wonder if Tan and Wei ever sorted their dispute out.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah, we'll have to see if we can do a follow up. We're planning to go to Japan, but we don't have a tour planned to China yet. So.
Well, mate, my flight goes via Beijing, so maybe I could nip out and see if I could meet them.
Just grab a quick interview for the pod.
What would be amazing about this story if Tan and Wei had a real tearful reunion and they realised that we've for all the potential tragedy, we've realised that we really missed and love each other, so we're gonna set up a new business together. Do you know what? Wei would always be looking over his shoulder though, wouldn't he? Thinking, right, what's he got planned for me? Be sitting at his desk and suddenly he finds an axe in his back.
Well, let's just put our differences behind us. Let's start anew.
Yeah, there'd be an interview on Oprah talking about putting their differences behind them, rekindling their business relationship. It could happen, be made into a movie.
Well,
mate, so it
was great to see you today, man. That's our first video episode, and we can't wait to see everyone there. And it was great to see you.
Hello to anyone watching. Hello there.
Greetings. And it was great to talk to you and share this absolutely ridiculous true crime.
Nice to see you, buddy. I'll see you on the next episode.
Too good to be true crime. It cannot be true. Too fucking good to be true crime.
It's true.
Too good to be true crime.
That's
Too fucking good to be true crime.
all good shit.